Take a deep breath in, into the low belly as you ground down into your sits bones, into those bony parts underneath your bottom. As you ground down into those, lift yourself tall in your chest. Deep breaths into the low belly. Each inhale, rooting yourself deeper. Finding the base of your spine and sending the energy there. You can rest your hands on your knees or down on the ground beside you. That's up to you. So you can either have palms facing up in a more receiving pose, or perhaps facing down in a more inward and grounding way. Big breath in, base of the spine. Like a wave up through to the collarbones, your breath is filling you. Exhale all the way out, hugging the low belly to the spine. So really tightening up that low belly as you exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So one kind of breathing technique that we often talk about in yoga is the Ujjayi breath. So it's the victorious breath. It's a very heating breath. And the reason I really like this breath is because it really gets us into our bodies. And so what you do is you kind of have a slight constriction of the back of the throat. So if you bring your hand, your palm up to your face, you're gonna imagine like you're, you know, when it's rainy out or cold out or whenever it actually happens, I don't know. You can fog up a mirror or a window and you make a little smiley face like in your car window. All right, so we're gonna imagine that our hand is that window or mirror. Take a deep breath in. And then imagine you're fogging it up. So it's that hot, really audible breath. So you notice, keep doing it over and over. Hopefully you're alone in your room and you can make a nice amount of sound here because it's the most satisfying to me. But so deep breath in. Exhale all the way out, fog up that mirror. Notice the slight constriction in the back of the throat. Now I want you to try to keep that on the inhale as well. So inhale. So it begins to start sounding a little bit more like a Darth Vader voice. So that really like kind of creepy breath, but that's what we're looking for. So that texture, that texture you feel in the back of your throat as you have it constricted, that's what we're looking for. You're feeling the breath go in and out. It's a very controlled, you get to control how much breath you're letting out, how much breath you're letting in, and kind of the rate and pace that it's entering and leaving your body. So take a couple rounds of Ujjayi breath. Ideally, we have the lips closed, the teeth slightly apart, jaw relaxed, and you're breathing in and out of the nose. It's okay when you first begin to start with just the breath out the mouth. So either one works for me. Take a deep breath in. Exhale all the way out. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. You can even circle them up and back, kind of gathering your shoulder blades together behind your back. We're going to do a little alignment. So breathing down into that space from the beginning, the base of the spine, into your sits bones, and then working your way up to the mid belly. Breathe into that space, sending energy. Exhale all the way out. Now more so your upper abdomen, your solar plexus. Breathe in there. Exhale out. And then the center of your chest. Breathe in. Exhale. Your throat. Breathe in. Feel that texture. Exhale. Your third eye, that place in between your brows, slightly above. Breathe into that space. Exhale. Now we're going to pause here for a moment. You can take your pointer finger to your third eye, in between your eyebrows, just above. Press in gently. Inhale. Exhale. On your next inhale, you're going to imagine that you're bringing forward into that point where your pointer finger is resting. You're bringing forward any negative or heavy energies that you're feeling right now, be it anxiety or anger, frustration, anything you're feeling, even if it's just kind of an annoyance of like, I'm having a weird day or anything. You don't even have to name it, just bring it forward. Breathe it forward. Feel it like a weight coming into the forehead. And you can take your pointer to the crown of your head, right at the center of the top. Inhale. And exhale, draw a small circle at the top of your head, the crown of your skull. Rest your hand by your side. Inhale. And exhale, push everything you've gathered in your third eye out of your crown. With that victorious Ujjayi breath, inhale, gather it forward. Exhale, send it out of the crown of your head. We're sending it out into the world, into the space around you, whether it's your room, out into the outside world, kind of inviting that spaciousness of the surrounding inside you instead. Breathe in. Exhale all the way out. Last time, inhale. And exhale. Get it out. All right. Circle your arms back behind you and up towards the ceiling. Press your palms down your center line so your palms are facing down. On the exhale, you're lowering. Circle around. Gather the energy. Inhale. And then exhale, palms facing down. You're tracing your center line, which we also refer to in yoga as your sushumna. So down your center line, you're pressing the energy down into the ground. Any excess that's lingering around your head. One last time, circle the arms. And press the palms down your center line. All right. So you can flutter your eyes open if they are closed now. I'm going to take a few seated twists. So in our Sukhasana, we're just going to switch the cross. So I had my right leg in front. I'm going to switch my left leg in front. Take a deep breath in to lift yourself tall on your sits bones, those two bony parts underneath your bottom. And then exhale, you're taking the back of your left hand outside your right thigh and reaching back with your right hand, resting it on the ground just below your sacrum. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. And exhale, twist, pressing into the back of the left hand, rooting down through the right fingertips. Inhale, lengthen tall, press down into those sits bones. And exhale, you're twisting. A little deeper each time. Inhale. Exhale, twist. Inhale back through center. And then exhale, twist towards the left, taking your left fingertips behind your sacrum on the ground and the back of your right hand outside your left thigh. Inhale, sit up nice and tall. And exhale, twist towards the left. Inhale, really tall, lengthen the spine. And exhale, twist. Inhale back through center. And exhale, place your right fingertips beside your right hip. Reach your left arm over. You're taking a side body stretch. So really getting into that left side body, stretching through the intercostal muscles. So those muscles in between your rib cage, breathing into that space, rooting down through both sits bones evenly. So you're gonna wanna, you tend to sort of hike up that left sits bone, keep it rooted down as you stretch through the left side body. Inhale. And exhale, just switch sides. Left fingertips plant next to your left hip. Reach your right arm up and over. You're rainbowing your side body. So lifting up through the left side of your body and stretching over with the right side. Big breath in. And exhale out. Inhale. And exhale that right hand back down. All right, so we're gonna cross over our ankles, just roll over them and make our way into a tabletop position. So our wrists are directly under our shoulders, our knees are directly under our hip points, and we've got our toes tucked. So big breath in to melt the chest through the shoulders. Keep the elbows straight as you tilt the tailbone up for cow pose. I'm not sure how much practice you guys have with yoga, but this is our very traditional cow cats that we're doing here. So arching the spine for cow as we inhale. Exhale, untuck the toes, round the spine, pressing into the palms. Let the head hang, let the tailbone hang. Cat. So really hugging the belly up towards the spine on the exhale. And then inhale, cow, tucking the toes, arching the spine nice and slow with the breath. Roll the heads of the shoulders back. Let the belly hang down. Inhale. Exhale, reverse, pressing through the palms, rounding the spine, tucking the tailbone and letting the crown of the head point towards the earth. Last round on your breath. Tucking toes for cow on the inhale, pulling the heels of the hands back towards the knees. And then exhale, untuck the toes, round the spine. Let the back of the neck relax as your crown of your head points towards the earth. And then next inhale, we're gonna make our way to somewhere in between that extension and flexion, so a neutral spine. Big breath in as you lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. And exhale, thread it underneath your left arm, pressing the back of the right hand into the ground. You're resting your right ear down, walking your left fingertips towards the front of your mat, or just forward if you don't have a mat. And breathing into this twist. So in our twist, it's this really cool opportunity for us to find the deep breath, even as we feel a little more congested. So inhale from the base of the spine to the crown of the head, lengthening through the spine. So when we create space between the vertebrae of the spine, we can allow for a deeper twist. So inhale, create that space. Exhale, press into the back of the right hand and the left fingertips to open yourself, twisting deeper. Inhale. And exhale, make your way back through center. Inhale, left arm rises. Exhale, thread it underneath your right arm, pressing the back of the left hand into the ground. Left ear rests on the earth as you walk your fingertips forward, pressing into the back of the left hand and the right fingertips, you're twisting open towards the right. Big breath in to lengthen the spine. And exhale, twisting. Big breath in. Exhale. Make your way back to a neutral tabletop. And we're just gonna tuck the toes, push the seat up and back, down dog. So in our down dog, our pointer fingers are parallel to one another and perpendicular to the front of the mat. You're pressing into the fleshy part between your pointer and thumb, so really rooting down that index finger knuckle.
to lift your seat up nice and high. You can kind of rock side to side, bringing one heel down to the ground and the other. Big breath in, checking in with the backs of the legs. How are your hamstrings and calves doing today? Beginning that conversation with body. The conversation is where we find that unity of body and mind. The bridge. Stay with the long inhales and exhales. At the bottom of your next exhale, walk your feet towards your hands. We're going to meet in a forward fold. If forward fold is a little bit inaccessible to you, go ahead and bend your knees. I know many of us don't have props at home, so I won't cue them. Big breath in. Exhale, grab opposite elbows and just sway from side to side. Pausing at any stickiness you may feel. And on your next exhale, slowly roll your way up to standing. Your chin is going to rest on your chest until your shoulders are up. Head is the last to rise. Roll the heads of the shoulders back behind you, gathering shoulder blades behind your back. Keep that rib cage in and down, so you're really tightening the low belly in this Tadasana mountain pose. Inhale, arms rise up, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, forward fold, Uttanasana. You can keep a nice bend in the knees if your hamstrings are a little tighter. Inhale, lift the low belly, upper back, spine nice and long as you look forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, root down to rise up, arms lift, Urdhva Hastasana. And exhale, hands by your side. So that's your really basic sun breath. We do that to begin to connect breath with movement. So we'll do one more of those and then 2 Surya Namaskar A's, and then we're done, friends. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, forward fold, hands to the ground. Inhale, lift the low belly, upper back, spine nice and long. Exhale, fold, nice and intentional with the breath as we move. Inhale, root down to rise up, fill that belly with breath. And exhale all the way out, hands by your side, Tadasana. Big breath in, Surya Namaskar A. Arms rise. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift the low belly, upper back, spine nice and long. And then exhale, step the right foot back. Left foot meets right, top of a push-up. So our bodies are in one straight line, our elbows are nice and straight, and we're pressing down into our palms a lot. Inhale, shift your shoulders over your wrists, come up on your tippy toes. And then exhale, option to drop the knees here if you don't want to challenge yourself with me, and then just bend to the elbows. Lowering all the way down, and then dropping the thighs, untucking the toes, pulling through to your cobra pose. Exhale, push all the way back, down dog. We're here for 2 breaths to reconnect, to reground, recenter. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale, walk your feet towards your hands. Inhale, lifting the low belly, upper back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, root down to rise, arms lift. And exhale, hands by your side. One last one. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift the low belly, upper back. Exhale, step the left foot back. Right foot meets left, top of a push-up. Inhale, shift your shoulders over your wrists, tie up on tippy toes. And exhale, lower down, chaturanga. Inhale, drop the thighs, untuck the toes. Keep the elbows hugging in towards your midline, cobra. And exhale, push back, down dog. One big breath in. And then exhale, drop the knees wide, feet touch together. Sit your seat back on your heels, pressing into your palms, extending your arms long in front of you, child's pose. Taking a few breaths here to close on your own, just centering yourself, grounding. After that little Surya Namaskar, rinse out. Taking breaths here, I'm gonna just set myself up with the correct camera and audio, and then we'll get started with some chatter and questions. Okay, friends, hello. Thank you so much for joining me for that short little practice. That was super basic. Yoga has much more, but that is something you'll find in kind of every class. Is a couple sun breaths and sun salutations, and it's always just kind of a great way to rinse out, wring out, get your energy nice and fresh, moving some stuff through, so you can kind of focus with a more grounded energy. Anyway, so yeah, we'll just get started. Does anyone have any questions or kind of comments? How was that for you guys? Did you partake or not? Yes.
Yeah, at least for me, I really enjoyed it. I feel like I'm not able to do yoga enough or even, breathing exercises and stuff like that. So this was really nice just to kind of motivate me to do it more often. I had to go off cam in the second portion, but I was still doing it. I just had to go to the other side of my room, which has more room to do it. But I really enjoyed it. It did seem very simple and easy to do, like something I could do every day, which I really enjoyed.
Awesome. Yeah, it is. It is pretty simple and easy to do, and I got to tell you, it's a great tool. So not only I met Rish. God, it must have been 2 years ago now. So he works with my dad. My dad actually he met my dad through rugby. My dad was the varsity high school, Greenwich High School rugby coach. And so they linked up somehow, and I met Rish eventually down the line. And this past summer, I actually did a series for his one of his rugby camps that he was doing down in Alabama, I think it was. But we did it via Zoom, and I think it was just so helpful for, your poor rugby bodies. You're amazing and poor rugby bodies. You guys are really put through the ringer. You guys impress me every single day. I grew up in a rugby family. I literally have, my dog's name is Rugby. There are trophies my brother is actually on the Houston SaberCats in Texas. So yeah, lots of rugby in my family. So I know that tight bod. I know those tight quads. I know everything about that whole deal. So it was really special for me to get to I never actually did rugby, but to be a part of that and kind of understand from your guys' point of view and your guys' bodies, and to work with bodies like that. It was actually a women's camp, so a little different than men's, but a very, very wonderful experience. Anyway, I'll get right into it. So about me, I started, let's see, I've played almost every sport under the sun aside from rugby. But I come from a very athletic family, and we were sort of like really heavily encouraged to do sports. And that was kind of the marker of a good child. Like, okay, you are doing sports, wonderful. But none of the sports, even though I played soccer for so long, and I actually only ended up
stopping playing soccer because I got injured quite a few times and kind of had to say goodbye to contact sports, it never fully served the purpose that I think it does for some, for me. So I took a little hiatus from, the formal sports practice when I was probably a junior in high school. And I found my own way to kind of move, whether it was I did like running for a while, I did, different things. Movement has always been a part of my life because it's such a part of my family's life. But it wasn't until 2018, believe it or not, that I found yoga. And when I say found yoga, I mean found like a formal asana practice. So I had, back when I was, God, geez, I'm going to be 28 this year, 13 years ago, found a meditation practice. So I started with chakra meditation, and that's kind of what I took you guys through, was that alignment of the 7 chakras, the kind of clusters of nerve ganglion that exist down our sushumna, our center line. And so I found that when I was about 15, and it's very gently, slowly, and surely unfolded into what it is now. I've always been a spiritual person, but to kind of link up my spirituality with movement was such a beautiful kind of like blossoming lotus flower from all, that whole analogy of like the lotus flower is in the mud and then it just climbs and climbs and climbs up through the water until it's like this beautiful blossom. Yoga was kind of that pinnacle point for me. Because I so valued movement and being strong in the body, like being in tune with your body, that, finding this harmonious balance of mind and body was like sold, like I'm here, I'm here for it. So yeah, when I was fresh out of college, really quick, I started a career in finance. I worked for 5 years at a commodity brokerage firm in Greenwich, Connecticut. It absolutely sucked the life out of me. I was really good at my job, and I made a good amount of money, and it seemed like all par for the course, like everything was going good, but my heart wasn't in it. And after year 2 or 3, I sort of was like, wow, I really need to make a shift to something that speaks more to me because life is too short, and so finally got the courage after getting my yoga teaching certification in 2018. I got the courage, or the end of 2018, I got the courage to finally leave that job without a plan. I didn't have a plan. I just left. I don't advise that. I got very lucky and found, jobs in between and whatever. But yeah, so then I found this job working here at SYJ. It's called Saraswati's Yoga Joint, and that's Saraswati right there. She's one of the Hindu goddesses. And yeah, so here I am. I started that job in 2019, this job in 2019, and it was all rainbows and butterflies, and everything was going swimmingly because I could take all of the knowledge I had gained from being like the manager of a business prior to working here to being a manager of a yoga studio. And it was like, okay, literally my entire skill set that I've been building for the past 5 years is like overly qualified for this job. And also now like my heart's super into it. And so every day I would literally, to anyone that would listen, I would say, I am so lucky that I get to love my job. Like I go to work, I get to see all these smiling faces ready to do the thing that I love to do. And it's truly, truly a blessing. I'm saying it like it's in the past, but that is because COVID. So I am currently working in the worst industry to be working in during a global pandemic. This was a tough year to be managing a yoga studio throughout all of this. I mean, let me just say for a quick second, it's a joke that I've become the tech expert of this business, because I was the kid, I'm like the middle child in my family, and I'd always be like to my older sister, like, I want to make an email, but I need help. She'd always be like, can you just please like figure it out yourself? I figured it out myself. I was always like, these wires, anyway. So I this year have, granted, I'm sure if I applied myself back then, I just was like so not into tech. It was so not my thing, but I had to be into it this year. This was the only option. So I, we went from, God, it's almost been an entire year now, but I still remember this time last year, we're getting the inklings, like the kind of beginnings of, okay, we might have to shut down, we might have to do this, that, and the other thing, like all this fear rising and the reality setting in. And then I think it was March 13th that I'm sitting on the studio floor right over there with the owner of the business. We are sitting on the floor and we have our hair messy and we are like, tears had just been running down our faces. And we had to make the decision to close the studio and figure out how we were going to provide yoga for our community in the meantime. And it was a lot of thinking. It was a lot of sitting on the studio floor. Like my posture got like, my body was like this at some point during that whole situation. And so we decided to go virtual. First, we were doing just recorded videos and sending them, like we had a Vimeo account and we were just kind of like letting those out. Then we moved to Zoom, then we moved to this. Either way, now, an entire year later, I am very proud to say that at the end of last year, we released our own app. We have our own beautiful virtual studio that isn't like all the Zoom madness of sending links and this, that, and the other thing. It's like you log on, it's there, it's beautiful. You guys can I'm going to give you guys the website for it. There's a 2-week free trial, so you can always just try it and then just leave it. But it's fun. It's great. It's really, it's a whole new world. You saw me with my whole getup. Like I'm used to teaching a yoga class. This is how I trained, was to teach a yoga class by walking around the studio, adjusting bodies. Now I'm planted in the front of the studio on my mat doing yoga as I'm teaching, as I'm making sure my audio is working, as I'm making sure this belt is in the right position. It's like this whole kind of it's a whole situation. I am like in a totally different realm now, but it's the phrase that we all hate. It's the new norm. And that is that. And that's where we are right now. So I'm going to take a pause in my chatterbox self and ask you guys if you have any questions. And I'm also going to grab a little charger for this laptop. So go ahead and unmute yourselves if you have any questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
How do you mentioned that the yoga is also spiritual for you. So how do you stay healthy for yourself while you're providing for so many people? My first question was going to be, how do you continue to find, in a typical pre-pandemic, it would have been more like, how do you continue to find inspiration when you've turned your passion into your job, right? But then there's like this other question now, which is related to that, and sort of how do you care for yourself while you're caring for others?
So that is a huge, huge, huge thing that I've been working on this year. I actually kind of like had this experience where I really was not taking care of myself. In the beginning, I was working nonstop. I was hours on end on my computer. Sorry, I'm off to the side. You can't see me on the other camera anymore. But so I was kind of very piecemeal keeping up with my yoga practice in the beginning of last year. I was making classes when I could, which was not often. And then doing my own little practice when I could, which was not often. And then I was trying to keep up with Instagram. So, Instagram is a big part of promoting yourself and your business and blah, blah, blah. We all have our opinions on that. I think it's a wonderful tool if used appropriately. I can be an example of how it was not used appropriately. I was doing it for the gram. And so you'll find on my Instagram, there's a picture actually where I'm in a dancer pose and that's with the leg all the way behind, you're standing on your other leg. And I have my foot touching the top of my head. And I was like, okay, cool. Just gonna, in between working on, studio manager things, all the background of everything we had going on here. I jumped into the studio, didn't even warm up, put a camera down, was taking a video, and I snapped my hamstring. So I had a 2nd-degree hamstring tear. after that very not so smart little maneuver that I did there. And I dealt with that injury from July to, let's see, November. I was given the clear to do yoga again in November. I went to the climbing gym, and clearly I had not learned my lesson because I started doing yoga in between my climbs and I snapped my other hamstring, believe it or not. It was a very 2020-esque situation. And so this one ended up being a 3rd-degree tear. I cried all night. It was awful and the best thing that ever happened to me, because I learned that taking care of myself comes before everyone else. Because as much as it has always been like the thing that I live for is helping others and inspiring others, and helping people get inside their bodies and match it up with their brains and whatever. And the whole idea of yoga that spoke so deeply to me, I wanted to share that so badly. But I found that in my desperation and love for sharing, I forgot to give myself what I was sharing with others. So this was a very pronounced message from the universe. Thank you, universe. I heard the second time, at least. And so now I have learned that it is so much about balance every single second of the day. And that means saying no to certain things. If a private client comes up, sometimes it means saying no, sometimes it means saying yes, sometimes you really need to make sure that you're carving out that time for your own practice. Because there were so many times during this past year where I chose like the background stuff, the work, instead of getting myself into the studio when it was right here for me to use at all times. So it is making that conscious effort to take care of yourself. And I think so I just really went off on a whole story tangent, but I would say that the greatest tool you can use is finding presence. And that's exactly kind of what we did in the beginning of the yoga practice. I think it's so important. And I actually did it's supposed to be a 5-minute meditation, but I really went off today at like 1:00. We have these take 5s for the studio. And I ended up doing a 15-minute thing just because I really felt like I needed to get in my body. But so you can check that meditation out. It's similar to the one that we did in the beginning, but not all the way. It's basically just finding right now. And right now is your body. Right now is your breath. Right now is your heartbeat. It's so simple. We think finding presence and being in the present moment is so much more, but it's really just that. It's that conversation when you get in your first down dog. It's checking in with your hamstrings. I always cue that every single class now because I'm like, hang on, hold up. How are your hamstrings doing today? How are your calves doing today? And how are you going to adjust your practice accordingly? Using blocks, using bent knees, putting the ego aside and making right now the most important thing of ever. So that's my very long answer. I apologize. Do you have any other questions or?
I have a question, actually.
Yeah, sure.
So you mentioned before that your posture has really gone downhill since COVID started. That's something I've seen just in myself, is that I'm not actually standing up. I tend to be turning my back into a question mark. So I was wondering if there was anything you found that helps with that, because I've noticed I'll be fine for like an hour or so, and then I realize, wow, this is getting progressively more painful.
Yes, absolutely. So this is like a very, very, very common issue right now. And all of my private clients, we're basically just restoring posture. That's I really think even pre-COVID, everyone's got to restore their posture, and postural restoration is one of my little things that I nerd out on. It makes me really excited because we are constantly in the posture of life. And so in every second, we have a posture that we are choosing, and we can choose it either unconsciously or choose it consciously. And recently I've been talking about this idea of vertical living. And so basically, in short, it's sort of like horizontal living. Like you can adjust your world, your external world, and kind of how you interact with it based on how you map it out in your internal world. So right now we kind of have as a human society, we map it out by time. And so time is kind of horizontal with the past and the present and the future. And so we're being pulled in these different directions this way. So we're getting punched backs and kind of leaning forward, and we're not thinking upright. That's not even the way our brain, like our everyday and our scheduling and all this stuff is not, that's not how we're operating. We're really thinking in terms of past and present, which is a horizontal map. So what I've been trying to encourage is this vertical living, which is kind of bringing yourself closer to the heavens or closer to the universe or closer to the higher power. When we went through that alignment sort of in the beginning, you think base of the spine, rooting down, grounding down into the earth, our earth, which is so sure and solid, and we can kind of dig our roots down into the earth and then lift up closer to the heavens, to the more like heady, ethereal, spiritual energy. And so it really begins with a thought. So if you kind of imagine that in every moment you're just being dropped down as a pinpoint, or even like that you're having like a picture snapped of you at every moment to check your posture, like how rooted down are you and how close are you to the heavens. And so it's not just like lifting the heart and lifting yourself taller, it's like rooting down, getting yourself planted in your feet, engaging your legs all the way to the low belly. Feel your low belly engaged while you're standing or sitting. And then like one kind of cue I use is as if you're about to be punched in the stomach, that tightening of your belly to protect yourself, that should be kind of your engagement at all times. It's kind of weird, but as a society, we really don't focus on our core energy. We kind of just let our bellies loose, which is fine, but not really if we want to improve our posture and feel more like on that vertical plane. So, and the trick there when you're kind of having that engagement is to find that dynamic breath. So kind of when we did the twist during our practice, I talked about that challenge of finding the full breath, even in a more congested pose. We find the full breath, even with that, that core engagement. So it's kind of this dynamic tightening, expanding, and contracting of the belly as we're really tight in our core. It all begins with the center. So it really, again, comes back to being present in the moment. Like roll the heads of the shoulders back, let them drop down by your sides. Engage the core, lift yourself tall. And it's not as simple, like there's no simple equation. It's you getting into your body as often as possible and living on that vertical plane. Thinking of each moment as a moment to be your best self, and being your best self means extending tall, engaging, not just letting everything loose. And, it's fine sometimes, like, don't get me wrong. Like you will often find me on the couch, like in a very strange position, like I should not be sitting that way. But that's whatever. That's totally normal. As often as you can, think of that snapshot being taken and like, lifting yourself nice and tall, being your best self, doing life, doing this present moment with your full heart. So when I say full heart, I really mean with a full awareness, with a full intention and attention to the present moment. That's a really long answer. Sorry. Sorry.
It was a very detailed answer, so I appreciated it.
Okay, then we'll be recording. Maybe you can rewatch it and it'll make more sense the second time. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that question. Seriously, it is like a really important one, and it's really about being in your body and doing your best to people have really relaxed their cores this year and tightened their hips. So I would really focus on a lot of hip openers and core workouts, which you will find plenty on the SYJ virtual studio from me, amongst other teachers, if you want little tips and tricks on how to find that. Sorry, I should probably keep up with this little chat.
Oh, Zoe, go ahead. I think your hand is up.
Oh, yeah. So I have a quick question. First of all, thank you so much for coming. I've really learned a lot. And second of all, my question was, so with athletics and stuff like that, how do you recommend incorporating, like as an athlete, yoga and stuff like that? In the past, I've heard about breathing exercises that can help you either get more excited before a competition or like more calmed down. Do you have any recommendations for that? Or also just yoga practices in general for nerves and anxiety and stuff like that?
Great question. Such a great question. So, one, all of you athletes out there that it's tough to work. It seems tough. That's what it seems tough to work yoga into your practice, but it's so simple. It's so even before I had a formal asana practice, like I said, I started with meditation, and meditation kind of blossomed into this mindful movement. And so what my mindful movement used to look like before I had this formal asana practice of an asana is poses. So the formal pose practice of yoga where you go through actual different poses, I would get on the ground. That's the first thing I tell my clients. Like, how often are you getting on the ground and just feeling around on your body, like moving around, engaging different muscles, and just kind of having that conversation in a very mellow way. So I would say, like, if you can't get to a formal yoga class, especially now it's a little tricky, I would recommend just kind of moving in your body. So doing getting on the ground, bringing knees into chest, extending long, doing those cat cows, kind of feeling what it feels like to be on your hands and feet, your knees in your hands, and just moving around. Like literally, I remember I used to just lay on my ground, like for hours on end, just like hugging my knees into my chest, tightening my low belly, seeing what happened when I loosened my low belly, and then tighten my a little bit upper, more high on my belly, and then loosen that. And then of course, I mean, there are plenty of online options for a formal practice if that feels something that's a little bit more tangible and accessible for you, because having that freedom of movement can be actually quite daunting. As liberating as it is in the moment when you get comfortable with it. At first, sometimes people need something a little bit more structured, which can be found in online sources like the one that we created, or there are plenty of other options as well. Like I'm not here to promo SYJ. I'm here to promo yoga. So anywhere you can find it online, there are so many options. Then you can do that. As for breathing techniques, I wish we had more time. I feel like we're like crunched on time. So I can and probably will talk forever, but yes, there is Viloma 1 and 2 breath. So it's a kind of like way to get yourself pumped up is to, it's a 3-part breath. So there are 2 versions. One is for the amping up and one is for the calming down. And so Viloma, the first one that I'll talk about is the kind of excited, get going breath. It's 3-part breath. So you're breathing in to your low belly, filling up to here, pausing. Breathing in up to your chest, pausing. Breathing in all the way up to the crown of your head, pausing, and then exhaling all the way out. So that's the one that will get you more energized. The 3-part breath that will calm you down and do the opposite is you're breathing all the way in. Exhale 1/3 of the way out. 2/3. Pause. And all the way. So that's the more calming version. The kind of more excited, get you going, caffeinated version is the 3-part breath up. The 3-part breath down is the calming. So that's a really great question that I could literally go into for a long time. But I hope that you do try the 2-week free trial or get yourself online. You can contact me. By the way, everyone, my handle for Instagram is BKBK Yoga. I cannot tell you how much I love geeking out about this stuff. So I will actually send you videos of exercises you can do, breathing techniques. So in regards to any specific questions you may have, that's probably the best way to contact me. And I will give you material, trust me. I will throw it at you.
Awesome. This has been so great. I think this is just about at time. If you'd like, we can go a little over. I have plenty of questions, but for people that do have to step out, thank you so much for being here today, BKU. Have really, I think, just been super helpful, especially for athletes and people that are just interested, just want to keep moving in their everyday life. I think this is really helpful because especially as more serious athletes, I feel like we're told to train 24/7 and just go really hard all the time when it's obviously just as beneficial for us to take a second to feel connected to ourselves and release our tension and stresses as well. So thank you so much for being here. We will have we will have this recording up on YouTube, hopefully by the end of the day. So if you guys want to come back to this, maybe redo like the opening kind of yoga meditation that we did, or basically look back to anything that we talked about, feel free to do that or share it with any of your friends. And I will put more information on the Skype group chat along with Instagram. But thank you all so much for being here. And I put our speakers' Instagram handle on chat, just like she said, so BK Yoga. So yeah, thank you guys so much. And if you guys have any more questions, anything to say, feel free.
You nailed that on the head. Very good. And yes, I am really like so blessed that I was able to be a part of this. If you guys have any more questions, I'm free the rest of the day, so I don't have anywhere to go.
Oh yeah, what's the app link?
Oh, right. Okay, so let me just, so it's watch. There it is. So watch.syjyoga.com, and you can just do the free trial, and you can always cancel, contact me or whatever, and yeah.
Awesome. Sorry, I was just copying that down so I can send it to the Skype group chat and even link it on Instagram as well, because I think that'll be super helpful. Yeah, I think this is a good point to wrap up, but thank you so much for being here, and thank you everyone for joining. This has been really fun, and we will have our next speaker actually just in a month from now, March 28th, with Nitegrity Quinones, and she's a break dancer, and she's actually working to be a breakdancer in the upcoming Olympics, because they're going to be adding that as a featured sport. So make sure you guys come back next month for that meeting, but more information will be out on that. Thank you guys so much for joining, and thank you so much again for being here, BK.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a great Sunday.
You too. Bye, guys.
Thanks.